You know what I love about it? It doesn't matter whether I'm talking to somebody who's brand new in the industry, hasn't closed a loan, doesn't have a plan, needs to know what do I do to prospect business, or whether you've been in the industry 30 or 40 years and you just need to get from here to there, or maybe you've gotten away from some of those brilliant at the basic activities that Carl
Yes.
talks and so it doesn't matter where you are, the daily success plan activities that
Hey, loan officers. Welcome to Loan Officer Growth Podcast, the podcast that helps LOs grow their business and have more freedom. Today, we have a special guest, Kristin Simpson. She's with the Marketing Animals, or the Mortgage Marketing Animals. And she is also the host of the Loan Officer Breakfast Club. And she has her own show incorporated in Loan Officer Breakfast Club called Kristin's Corner.
I do. I'm the co-host. If I take that away from Frank Ray, he'll be so unhappy with me. So anyway,
I'm gonna advertise it as the host. No, I won't. Just kidding.
Awesome. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Richard.
Awesome. How's your day going? Good.
Fantastic. We just got off a long weekend, ready to get on the calls, get on the phone with clients and loan officers and talk about what's going on. Let's hit that fourth quarter hard because believe it or not, it is September.
Yes, it's crazy how fast this year has gone.
I know. Q4. Do you have a plan for Q4?
Nice. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
So I am a strategist here at the Mortgage Marketing Animals. In addition to the Loan Officer Breakfast Club, which if you don't mind, I'll give a little shameless plug, but
yes.
Couple thousand of us, maybe we meet every morning, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 9 Eastern time. And we talk about what's going on in the mortgage community, try to help each other out. We talk about the daily success plan activities that we work here at the Mortgage Marketing Animals. So I'm on there every morning and I bring forth questions that come up as I'm on strategy calls with loan officers and branch managers. And that's kind of what I do on the daily. I set up strategy calls with different loan officers and branch managers and talk about what's going on in their business. Where are they? And if it's not where they want to be, let's talk about how we get there. What does that plan look like?
Nice. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of people asking those questions to themselves too. The market's a little bit different than it normally is, or that we're used to. But that's cool. What is your absolute passion? What do you love about what you do?
Oh man. You know what I love about it? It doesn't matter whether I'm talking to somebody who's brand new in the industry, hasn't closed a loan, doesn't have a plan, needs to know what do I do to prospect business, or whether you've been in the industry 30 or 40 years and you just need to get from here to there, or maybe you've gotten away from some of those brilliant at the basic activities that Carl talks. And so it doesn't matter where you are, the daily success plan activities that we work here at the Mortgage Marketing Animals, it applies to you, whether you're brand new in the industry and haven't closed a loan yet, or whether you've been in it 30 years and you're closing 20 a month. You still have to have a daily plan to keep prospecting at the proactive piece of your business.
Yeah. And it's funny you say back to the basics or do the basics. It's because what we've seen, and I know you've seen this too, are loan officers that are relatively brand new are having huge success right now, where some of the veterans are struggling. Right. And so it is a good time for them to kind of go back to what they did to get where they were or get where they are today. So kind of like that back to the basic, Yep.
And a big piece of that, oftentimes it's not that they don't know that calling the database is a good idea, or prospecting from their loans that are under contract and asking for referrals is a good idea. It's just that somewhere along the way, we got away from doing those things.
Yeah. So what do you, out of the basics, and, most loan officers listening to this, they know what the basics are. So what do you think, where do you think loan officers are missing? What parts are they not doing today that maybe they did before? What are your thoughts on that?
I think there are probably two key things that come up time and again. Number one, for those seasoned folks who have a database, they have it on autopilot, right? They're dripping on them
Right.
with emails, or maybe they are mailing them some things. And they will say, oh, no, I get referrals from my database. But when we really, really take a hard look at the conversion number that we know we should be seeing out of a database based on a layered approach, right? You drip on them with emails, also mailing them, but the quarterly phone call,
Yep.
that seems to be the biggest thing. And it's just because their calendar didn't say, hey, it's Wednesday. Today you're going to call these folks and you're going to check in on them. And these are gratitude calls, right? Check
Yep.
in on them, see how they're doing, especially in this environment, this market environment that we're in. If you aren't positioning yourself as a resource and an advisor for people who you've helped in the past, man, you're missing the boat.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because a lot of loan officers that we've talked to right now, about 30% of their business is coming from that database, but that's when it's being worked correctly.
You got it.
So it's that quarterly phone call. It's letting people know that they, appreciate them. A lot of people are missing out. This is my opinion, but I think a lot of loan officers are missing out by not sending that monthly mail out.
Oh
Because
my gosh, I agree with you. Steve Kyles and I were having this conversation like 3 weeks ago. It's funny that you said that.
yeah,
And he told me that when he first met Carl and they were talking about it, he told Carl that he wasn't mailing his database because it had, just it got too big and he wasn't mailing them. And
right.
Carl looked at him point blank and said, what, you don't like money? Yeah. I want to say the statistic, and don't hold me to this, Richard, but I want to say the statistic is that mailers are 436 times better than an email as far
Yes.
as being looked at, from a conversion perspective. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
huge.
and there's another statistic that if you follow a mail out with a phone call,
Mm.
you've got like an 87% more chance of converting or getting a referral from that person. And that's the key. It also, people are a lot of loan officers will say, well, I've done a bad job of following up with my past clients. I haven't called them in years and years. Send them a mail out and then now follow up that mail out with a phone call. You can
You got
even
it.
your question can even be, hey, I just wanted to check, see if you received that information I mailed out. And the reason I mailed you and the reason I'm calling today is I just want to thank you.
Yes. We overthink these calls, right?
Right.
We overthink them, but it goes back to that layered approach. You really have to have the layered approach. The most important piece of that being the two-sided conversation,
Right.
because the emails and the mailers, it's very one-sided, right? But you're right, following up with a phone call, I mean, that's it right there. And I've also heard a lot from folks in my database, well, nobody's looking to do anything right now because they're all at 3%. Great. That's not why you're calling. you know,
Exactly.
thank them for being a client, ask how they're doing, see if they need anything. And you also have to remember that every single one of those people have a circle of influence, a sphere of influence that you don't have, that you don't know. So you have to ask for that commitment to refer.
Exactly. Because it's all about who they know, not only what they, because it's funny you say that. I hear that all the time. Loan officers saying, well, all of my database, they have a 2.5 to a 3% interest rate. They're not going to do anything.
Mhm.
And you're right. It's who else do they know, and getting that commitment for them to share their information or get the information from them. And then in addition to that, what's working really well now for a lot of loan officers is the conversation that they're having with their past clients regarding debt consolidation and
Ah,
that blended interest rate. You want to talk about that for a minute?
yeah. I mean, if you look at the entirety of our nation's indebtedness, there are folks in your database that could use some help from a cash flow standpoint. And that type of a conversation only comes as a result of you positioning yourself as a resource. oftentimes people don't know that there's an option out there for them, right? And then also, you've got that dynamic where it wasn't about an isolated life event, right? You want to be a part of their lives for future events, not just one event, but a lifetime of events.
Right.
So yeah, and that's what I was alluding to when I said earlier that if you're not positioning yourself as a resource and an advisor, you're missing the boat.
Right. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. So what else what other common questions, or what other I hate to say hurts, but pains that loan officers are having right now? What are you seeing on with your strategy calls that you're doing?
I think that we also have to level set ourselves with regard to what, I know I have, a piece of this puzzle is calling realtors. How many do I have to call? How many calls do I have to make? How many weeks in a row? What is the exact plan? Because it's one thing for us to say, okay, I know I got to call realtors, and then we devise our own rendition of what that looks like. And it's
Right.
another thing to say, oh, Carl's getting this conversion out of his system. Well, let me just plug into exactly what that looks like and then make those calls, because we want our actions to be congruent with where our goals are. Well,
Right.
if I want to be, if I'm closing, let's just say I'm closing 2 loans a month right now, and my goal is to be closing 5 by the end of the year. Well, man, we map out a custom plan for that.
Right.
Here's what that looks like. Here's how many calls every week you're going to have to make to have this many talk tos, to have this many appointments set, to have this many kept. And then, oh, hey, by the way, here's exactly what you're going to say on the appointment. And even more important than the appointment, here's what the follow up looks like.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I was just going to say, you have to get used to, or be okay with hearing a lot of no's. That's the key, I think.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, Carl White always says 84% knows.
Exactly. So, and you put it in perspective. If I call 100 people and I already know going in, 84 of them are going to just straight out say no to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to be able to handle that enough to know that, hey, there's 16. Is that right? 16?
Yep.
Yeah. That are going to say yes.
Yep.
So I've got to be able to handle emotionally those no's. And, we take that stuff to heart,
Oh, it's hard not to, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But going in, if we know that
Yeah.
going in, it makes it so much easier just knowing that, hey, I'm going to hear no 84 times, but I want those 16 yeses.
Yeah. This is what's supposed to happen. Yeah. If you're getting no's, you're doing it right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And then it helps, of course, to surround yourself with people who are doing this too,
That's very true. Yeah.
because it's easy to feel like you're on an island by yourself. And most of us are working out of our home office, and I'm getting these no's, and I'm the only one getting these no's. And that's a very slippery slope when we negotiate with ourselves. We start telling ourselves these
Yeah.
things. But when you're aligned with people who are also doing it and they're getting the no's, and then they're working through and powering through to get the yeses, that's the support.
Yep. And we can do a shameless plug for you. If somebody wants to go to the Breakfast Club, how would they get on that? Because that's a bunch of like-minded individuals. Like you said,
Got it.
thousands of loan officers go on that weekly. How would
And
somebody
it's
find
free.
that? Yep. It's free.
And it's free. Loanofficerbreakfastclub.com. That's
That's
it.
it. 8:30
Loanofficerbreakfastclub.com.
a.m. Eastern every day, Monday through Thursday, right?
You got it. 8:30 to 9. It's a quick half an hour. They go to loanofficerbreakfastclub.com, and they'll just fill in some information. We want to make sure that it's a loan officer trying to get in there and not, some bot or something else. And then we will email you and text you the Zoom link. Hop on live with us. These are interactive calls. And yeah, let's get our days focused on prospecting activities.
Nice, nice. So else, what is something that you're seeing over and over again that could be something of value for a loan officer right now that they could change or do differently?
Mm.
What do you think?
I think you have to be very intentional with your ask. I don't think we can say this enough. You can't assume because you do a really good job for people that they're going to refer to you.
Right.
Most people are just aren't even thinking about it. They don't work in a referral based business like we do. I think when you can just have a system and a process to be really intentional at maximizing all of your touch points, and at the end of the day, not just being busy, but being able to set up conversations that are going to enable you to ask for business or referrals. That's the biggest thing that you can do right now, is being really intentional with creating that referable experience and asking for the business
Yeah, asking the right way and asking every time.
every
Because
time.
you're right, especially with realtors, we kind of assume that they know we're loan officers,
Mhm.
they know we're talking to them, we're following up with them. It's just an assumption that they're going to send us business. And I'll tell you a story. It's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time, but years ago, I'd say probably 8-10 years ago, when I first started in the Freedom Club, actually it was 11 years ago. That's crazy. But
Who's count?
I fell into that, where I was giving so much value to realtors. I taught classes every month. I
Mhm.
would send them out, pieces of value and different things via mail. I would
Mhm.
call them, but I kept getting these lists of agents who I know were qualified, and they weren't sending me business. So one day I just said, you know what? I've got to make the tough calls. So I decided I'm going to call them, and I'm just going to ask them, look, I just wanted to ask you, is there a reason you haven't sent any referrals over? Because I feel like we have a good relationship, blah, blah, blah. So I
Right.
started calling, and I heard over and over again, Richard, I'm so sorry. You never asked. I just thought you were too busy.
Mhm.
And it
Oh
was
man,
because I never asked. Isn't that crazy?
that's amazing. Yeah, no, it is. I get it. I get it. And that's one of those things where you go, geez,
Yeah,
geez. I thought that what I was doing was asking you for referrals, but no, you weren't.
exactly. It was the
Mhm.
assumption. I
Yeah.
thought, I assumed that they would send me business, but I didn't come straight out and ask, like, who do you know, or who do you have today that needs to get pre-qualified?
You got it. That's it right there.
Wow. So I don't know if this is my last question to you, because I know this time flew by. Um, it might be similar to the one you just did, but what words of encouragement do you have to loan officers today in the current times we're in?
Um, well, that's a great question. I would say trust the process, number one, and get comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Mm,
There is, and I feel so bad for a lot of LOs out there that are falling victim, if you want to use that word, to this lead generation stuff, right? It's everywhere. And I feel that it's preying on the environment that we have in the
right.
mortgage industry. The reality is this is going to take work,
Yep.
but the payoff is great. We just have to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, and trust that, look, I know I'm going to have to put in work and this isn't going to be an overnight fix, but at the end of the day, I can follow a plan, a trusted plan that
Right.
other LOs are working right now and having success with. So I think that would be the encouragement I can say, is the payoff is great, but yeah, you're going to have to put your head down and really work the plan.
Yep. Very cool. I love it. I love it. Well, it's been awesome having you on.
Oh, I always like chatting with you, Richard.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. Thanks so much,
All right.
Richard. Have a good one.
Okay. Bye bye.